Well, how have you been? This is our first time like hanging out since League's Cup started.
Yeah, it's been a while. It was kind of a nice break
Yeah, I
because
agree.
yeah, I was still like doing my work with the team, but at the same time, no episodes on Thursday, no Fallout. So
Yeah,
to me, it was like a nice break, but yeah, I think at the end I was like over with the boycott and all the comments. I don't know. I was done with it for like too many back and forth and people saying too many things. So it's like
me
I'm
too.
done. Ready for the MLS season.
I felt the same way. I felt exactly the same way. In fact, I think that was why, like our first episode after League's Cup was over, it was like, let's just because we weren't sure how much we were going to talk about at that point. We didn't want to go too much into League's Cup, and that's why we just decided to just make it like a celebration, basically. Like it's over.
Yeah,
We can forget all this happened. So
I think in the end, like and you can tell like having the new players have some games before MLS season started. I think it was good for the team. Obviously,
yeah,
still a lot of things to improve, and margins are getting smaller and smaller. But I like what I have seen so far.
yeah, me too. Me too. I think actually one of my questions: do we really only have 8 games left? Is that it?
We do have 8 games left, and we need a lot of points. But starts on Sunday.
Starts on Sunday. Well, we got one last week.
Yeah, it should have been three, and we would be in a way
Mhm.
better position. But chances are still there. Have to win a lot of games, go on an undefeated streak without too many ties, and then if that happens, the team will get to week 34 with hopefully something on the line. We'll see.
We will see. I am. I was on. I knew I'd make a few mistakes because I've been a little rusty. I went on News Across the Galaxy (NAG) last night for the Galaxy and
Uh huh.
a podcast. It kept saying
Oh,
that
how did
we
that go?
lost. It was okay. I made this big mistake, so I haven't been sleeping well at night. But I kept
It felt
saying
like a loss. It felt like a loss, to be honest.
it did. I kept saying 5-4 loss. I think I said it a few times. So it felt like a loss. It wasn't, but
Yeah,
we just needed more than one point.
if Portland had scored the equalizer earlier, if they had had like 10 more minutes, could have been a loss.
Could have been a win though. It felt like we were trading goals there for a little while.
Yeah. It's
You're like,
just
no.
after that four goal, like
Yeah.
yeah, just it was all Portland, and it was hard to call and to watch. Like yeah, City was defending, but in my opinion, like just didn't have like the right pieces, the right personnel out there to defend that lead. If that was the goal.
Yeah. We'll talk about that. I think that's going to be a big one we hit today.
Yeah.
In fact, I hope I hope I don't repeat too much. I've got a couple like repeating themes, and Matt usually keeps me from doing that. So I'll be trying to
Yeah,
throw to
just
you a lot.
a couple of minutes. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think we should go ahead and go, and I'm sure Stu will join if he can
Yeah, I
make it.
already have some people live joining us, so
Yes.
thanks all for joining. Now, so yeah, let's not make them wait.
Yes. Oops. Okay. Is there anything especially? Do you have a like research stuff that you are especially strong on? Anything like that, or just like a normal night, basically?
Yeah, just normal night.
Great. Okay. I just want to make sure
We'll
I
make
didn't.
it work.
need you to set anything up for you. Here we go. Welcome everyone to Flyover Footy on the Big 550 KTRS. We are presented by Noble Ice Vineyards. I have Santiago Beltran with me. Santiago, we were just saying that we haven't talked a whole lot since League's Cup started, and it is so good to be with you tonight. Obviously, no Matt Baker, and we are going to do our best to do a Matt Baker impression tonight. I used his notes as a template to kind of put in some stats best I could, but we make do, don't we, Santi?
Yeah, yeah, we'll make it work. I know you guys miss Matt, so we'll try to entertain you, give you some good information. So stick with us.
Absolutely. Uh, Santiago, I was gonna ask you about one thing. I was trying to find something kind of off topic or semi on topic, and I think the big news I've been seeing all night on X is Cucho Hernandez is called up by Colombia. How do you feel about that?
Oh, that's so exciting! Yeah, somebody sent me a text earlier, and I was playing pickleball, and then enjoying some full time with some friends. So had not seen much, but yeah, somebody sent me a text, and it's great. He's playing really well, and it was about time for him to get a call up. So I'm excited. Who knows if he will play or it will be more like a bench role? But he's killing it. He's doing great in MLS. He had a great Leagues Cup. So I'm excited. I'm excited about Cucho being on the national team, and I hope he gets a chance to play and continues showing what he can do. He's killing it.
Yeah, and as a neutral in that situation, I'm really curious. I guess it ends my neutrality here. I really want to see how he can compete as, one of MLS's best, but still, how does MLS, take those star players and how does that translate to the world game, the World Cup qualifying in this case. So I hope he gets to play and I hope he gets to show off a little bit and maybe we get to, get some of the shine on MLS here from the World Cup and from Cucho himself.
Oh yeah, imagine if he does well on this call up and people, oh, MLS, Columbus Crew, what is that?
Yeah.
Where is that? What is that team? That would be awesome.
And we can be proud of the style that they play too. I mean, we can get a little, Nancy's doing some good stuff for us here in MLS, aren't isn't he?
Yeah, yeah, he's doing really well, and he has great pieces in Columbus, and yeah, it was great to see. Well, obviously, we will have liked to see City in those instances, but
Yes.
just seeing a repeat of the MLS Cup between Columbus and LAFC and Cucho just shining and coming at the right moment, it was great to see.
Yeah, I won't belabor the point. I used to put like little guesses on which player would get called up from St. Louis first, and there's so many options. Someday when we have a little more time, we'll maybe put some bets down on that one because it's a fun conversation for me. But I think we should move on, Santiago. I think we often start with player availability, and in this case, I think it's probably one of the biggest storylines of the week because it's a bit of a mix of good news and bad news. Any of your favorite parts of this week's press releases and player availabilities that you'd like to kind of touch on first?
Yeah, definitely seeing that Joao Klaus is back and he may be available for selection on Sunday. Obviously, Coach Hackwar said that probably not to start, but he would probably be part of the game, which to me is fine. And I have said it in other spaces. Like right now, Simon Betcher is doing really well. If he continues his scoring, I think that's his job for now, and it will also put less pressure on Klaus. You can use him on the second half, towards the end of games, and give him time. Give him time to have like 15, 20, 30 minutes and do that progression the team likes to apply when players return from injury. And at the same time, you have someone performing like Simon Betcher. So it's kind of the best of both worlds. You have your top striker coming back from a long time away with injury, and at the same time, someone you just signed is scoring, doing really well. And this Simon Becher thing for me, Phil, personally, was unexpected. When the team signed him, I was like, yeah, he would probably be one of those guys that will come second half, maybe towards the end of the game, maybe use him to close games. But not only the scoring, but the way he plays, the way he holds the ball, the way he's not afraid to just talk to the opponent and
Mhm.
be on their face. I really like what I have seen from Betcher, and that was unexpected for me.
It was unexpected for me too. I kind of knew some things about him that he would never give up. He's really good at the dark arts. He's better at that than I remembered at SLU, and maybe he's picked up some things since going pro. But yeah, I mean, he is an all-around player, and he's really helped St. Louis a lot. And I promised my friend Curtis Heinrich that I would repeat this prediction that I was very confident at the time, saying, and I apologize if you've been listening to the show or KTRS or me on any other show. I've said this a million times, but I think Klaus, who was kind of pulling double duty with the playmaking, will now be able to focus on just scoring goals, just being a number nine, and starting out here, it looks like perhaps even just as a sub. And so he's able to focus in, and I have, you know, I predict that Hackworth will also make sure that his job is simple coming back and
Hmm.
just focusing on returning and being strong and confident and ideally scoring goals as well. And so I think I predicted to Curtis that if he plays as a nine through the rest of the season, that he would get a goal every 2 games. And I'll say a goal in less than, every 3 games. So, let's say 2.8 or 2.5 at
Hmm.
worst. Now I said that and I was very confident until about 2 weeks ago when, like you said, Simon Betcher has been on a roll. He's kind of made the job his. And Klaus is going to have to really be amazing to take it back, I think. And it sounds like you were kind of saying the same thing there.
Yeah, yeah, and obviously, if he comes 70th minute and he scores 2 goals, yeah, obviously it will give Coach Hackward something to think about. But if Betcher is also scoring, like then you have options. But yeah, I really echoing on what you said. Like now he he just has to worry about being a number nine. He doesn't have to worry about the playmaking. Even at times, once he gets some minutes and it's in soccer form, you could also like do some creative things and use both Simon Betcher and Klaus. So it's great to have options, but I like the fact that there is not a lot of pressure for him to come back. He doesn't have to show results right away. If he does, great. More competition for that spot, but
Mhm.
I think it's a good situation to be in.
Absolutely. Not to mention also, I would say that Simon Betcher looks a little bit tired, maybe 15, 10 minutes before the end. And so just getting him some rest, I think, is going to help him as well. He's been pulling double duty in a way. Usually a guy gets a rest every other game at worst, but he's been doing 90-minute games for a while now. Let's talk about the other injuries, possible returning. Alm, who doesn't sound like he's going to be available as a sub in this game, but maybe pretty close. Sounds like he's eligible, but looks like they're kind of waiting until he's pain free, is the terminology there. And I always get her name wrong. We're getting this from Jen Seiss. Seiss?
Cease.
Cease. Thank you very much. I wasn't sure. So usually Matt's in town doing this stuff. Santiago, you weren't there this week, which usually I would pull from you as well, but just wanted to make sure we cited our source there.
Yeah, yeah,
So,
I was there, but
oh, sorry.
it's been yeah, I have been it's been a little hectic the last couple of weeks. So yeah, even though I was there, I haven't been able like to do like notes or things like that. But yeah, credit to Gen C's. Thanks for putting those notes out. But yeah, Rasmus Alma, Coach Hackwar said, yeah, he's training, but we want to be conservative. Want to wait until he's pain free. So it sounded like he won't be part of this Galaxy game.
Not to beat a dead horse, but Nilsson got another knock this week, it sounds like. And, the beating the dead horse being, Maybe he played before he should have on turf at that. And then when he re-injured, his hamstring. So he's out for sure, taking their time on that. Speaking of being conservative, totally fine. I think there was a statement made last week or early this week saying that they're taking it easy on Nilsson. Any thoughts on that one? It's a tough one.
Yeah, I think that's the right approach. Just don't rush it if he got a knock, and I think the fact that it now coming to the last 8 games of the season, and knowing you need to get results on most of the games, like just have a that approach. Wait and see. Like don't rush it. At least on Sunday against Galaxy, depending on the result. And I don't wanna sound like pessimistic, but let's say the team doesn't get the result, and then at that point, making the playoffs is almost impossible.
Hmm.
At that point, just rest him for the rest of the season, get him ready for 2025, and even if you have some slim chances of making it, just use the players that are available, that are fit and ready to go, and then if you get on a run and win 6 games in a row, and then you are right there, you're right there close to the playoff line, and these last games matter, and he's healthy, maybe at that point he could be a useful piece from the bench. I will still not rush him to be a starter, but that's just my opinion. But yeah, I will take that approach. Maybe see what happens after Sunday and make a decision based on that.
I think it's extremely well said. Totally agree there. Question Byron Tim says, "Does Horn get a start on Sunday?" I think we'll definitely give a prediction at the end of this show with the Big 550 KTRS. But there was a quote about Horn being 100%, and Kessler has come in after a big break, and Heckworth said that they both need time, and that makes sense. They neither one really played during Leagues Cup. They both came from playing with their teams and then took a little bit of a break there. So they need time. Will they play? We'll see. But it'll be good to get them both maybe become regulars with Horn, but definitely I think Kessler.
Yeah, Kessler for sure, and he started the last game. But yeah, obviously, Horn is different because he was in off season mode. Kessler, even though he was idle, I guess he was training, but he wasn't playing games. He played the first Leagues Cup game with New England, but then he was traded and he wasn't eligible to play with City. But at least he was in training, so not as much rust as Horn. But yeah, John Hackworth said that Horn basically is coming from preseason, so still gets still needs to get to a point where he can start. But he will be useful from the bench too.
Yeah. Chris Klein says, I don't know if Horn has the wheels to keep up with Paint. So, Chris, we're going to touch on that a little bit later. So, stick with us on that one. We'll have a few more details that'll help us kind of figure that out. Having so many players to choose from is a good problem to have, says Hackworth. Start with team culture of playing for something greater than yourself and earning your time. That's something we've been talking about. An example of a player accepting their role with this, not having or having so many players for very little amounts of time available for them. Thorson has been earning a start. Vasilev is great off the bench and gives more versatility. So these guys are having to accept a new role. For Thorson, he's probably very happy. Vasilev, probably hungry, right? Uh, Good and bad for both of them, I would say there. And we're going to talk a lot about the 2-goal lead being given up. So I don't want to belabor that. You see these quotes as well here, Santiago. Is there anything else you would like to mention before we move on to talking about the previewing Los Angeles Galaxy?
Yeah, I know about that 4-2 lead that ended up turning into a draw, another draw that people are so used to draws with this 2024 version of City. John Hackwer, I like something he mentioned, or at least caught my attention, that when you have that lead, like the mentality has to be we're gonna go and win this game instead of thinking, oh, we were going to avoid Portland. Portland scoring and coming back. Like it's two different ways to think about the game, and I think that's
Yeah.
something the team is working on this week. He also mentioned that is like it was something interesting too. Like he was like, you have to combine the tactics and the mental portion. You have to do them together instead of
Mm.
treating them separately, which was something very interesting too. And with so many new guys, obviously is difficult to for all these new pieces to gel with the guys that have been with the team for a while. And it's gonna take some time. Hopefully, this week the team was able to work more on that, and we're gonna see a different team against Galaxy. More compact, with that mentality about winning the game instead of just thinking, oh, we have another lead. Let's just try to not not to let bad things come and give up the lead. It's just a different approach, and I think the team has learned from the last couple of games. Club America also
Hmm.
holding a lead, but just the results weren't there. What worries me is that it's 8 games left, so there isn't a lot of time to learn those lessons and try to do something different. But the team has been really good attacking. It's just that holding the lead hasn't been something good the last couple of games.
Yeah, and there's a difference with Hackworth. We just mentioned a few quotes from him that kind of show a different mentality between him and Carnell. The last one we'll mention here is City players are being proactive on their own with what needs to be improved. All we can do is move on and improve. He thinks this group can do that, and that doesn't sound like Carnell at all, does it? It sounds like someone who's laid back, that's letting the players figure it out on their own to some extent. And it felt like Carnell had a very strict structure, that there would be no backing off ever, like we've seen. And it hasn't gone well, the backing off, maybe 2 out of 3 times, if I'm, doing bad math in my head. Whether I'm right or wrong, there's definitely a difference between the two. I don't want to belabor that point and say that I'm right. But I just wanted to kind of point out, this Hackworth experiment I've very much been enjoying, but it is different.
Yeah, yeah, it's different, and you can see the way the team plays when it has the ball. Just a very patient team. Doesn't try to force things. Not relying so much on the long ball, which is something I like. I like when the team doesn't force plays, and yeah, even if it has to go 20 touches from side to side to open spaces, that's fine.
Yeah.
I think a previous team, it was more like let's try to force it, go long ball, and you kind of still see some of those tendencies because I think like it's difficult for the players to go from one coach to another coach and
Yeah.
like flip the switch quickly. Like the last game, I still saw like some trying to go for the long ball, trying to find Simon Betcher, but he was alone on Portland's field, portion of the field, so
Mhm.
wasn't really a good idea. Team could have held the ball longer, but I'm sure the team is learning from all of this. But yeah, two different styles for sure. But I like what I have seen from this uh, John Hackworth team so far.
Agree. You're listening to Flyover Footy on the Big 550 KTRS. Santiago, it's time to start previewing the LA Galaxy. And I've got some, we're structuring this. Like I said, Matt has a bit of a template for his notes, and I tried my best to kind of fill in the blanks. That's more or less the smartness that went in from me as I became a bit of a data entry nerd here. But I do know how to read these sort of things to some extent. Santiago, definitely read through these. And if you'd like to take over at any point or have any thoughts, we will definitely throw to you. But as St. Louis City comes in the standings, they are 13th in the West. They have a 4-10-12 record. That's 12 draws. With 24 points in 26 games. That's 36 goals forced, 50 goals allowed, negative 14 goal differential. That one hurts me the most, I think. Every time I see the negative goal differential, I was like, you know, I don't want City to ever kind of dip into that. And here we are. It's not too late to fix that, but it's there.
Yeah, and not only the goal differential, but just the amount of goals that have been scored
Mm,
this season. Just usually for things I prepare for before every game, I usually have something about last year, and I was hoping that that comparison will quickly like be similar. But last year the team had two players with 10 goals, another player with 8 goals, and this year, the leading goal scorer is still Joao Klaus, who has missed a lot of time and only 5 goals. Nuke Vitorison is getting there. He scored his 4 goal in MLS last week, but yeah, it's just when I have to read that, I'm like, oh my god, I would have hoped that by this point we will have a double-digit goal scorer, but goals have been hard to come by. Got better in League's Cup, and even last
yeah.
game scored 4. Still didn't win the game, but yeah, I think with the with the new players, the new pieces, players getting healthy, I think this team has more weapons and will be able to score more goals down the stretch of 8 games that it has left.
Yeah, and even looking at assists, I mean, looking up what you just mentioned shocked me because it wasn't something I was tracking that closely. But Indy having the most assists at 4, Klaus having the second most at 3 is insane. But you look at what happened in Leagues Cup. Doesn't Hartle already have 3 assists from Leagues
Well,
Cup?
he got 3 in this last game against Portland,
That's what I'm thinking. Yeah,
which was something that has not happened for a player making its MLS debut
that's
since
right.
1998.
Thank you. I had that just slightly off. Thanks for solidifying it.
And
But that's awesome.
he made team of the week.
Yeah.
So yeah, hopefully he will continue that trend. Team definitely will need him against this LA Galaxy, who is leading the Western Conference. So it's gonna be a difficult opponent with talented players. And this is one game the team is gonna have to get a good result. And sometimes I think like, what a better way to prove yourself. Go get that result you need against the best or one of the best teams in the league.
Absolutely. So we're looking at, I think it was 8 goals in the Leagues Cup. I hope I wrote that down
Yep.
correctly. And
Yep.
then 4 more goals against Portland. And the thing that we are going to hit hard today, I think, over and over and over, it's going to be a recurring theme, is that we gave up 4 goals against Portland. And, I'm looking at Matt's notes. I left this in there from last time. Um, he mentioned last week that it's a defense that doesn't know each other, right? A new back four. And how many times have we had a new back four this season? So, I mean, let's talk about it shortly now. But, you know, can it's amazing. It's amazing that St. Louis can score how many goals that they've been doing, looking so good in Leagues Cup. The XG looks good. Underlying stats are looking much better. But now all of a sudden, defending is a problem as we see Tim Parker leave, Kessler come in. As we said, this has been a rotating back line. So this is the new big problem, right? This is the thing we're going to fixate on until we see it fixed, right, Santi?
Yeah, definitely. And when we did the podcast last week, when we were talking about our predicted starting 11, I remember mentioning a concern about having, because a lot of people were like big into, okay, just start Janis Horn, but my concern was like, I don't want to have two new guys on the back line just for the first game of this second part of MLS. Just give the team and the new pieces time to adapt and know each other, and it'll probably happen again this week. But yeah, just so many new pieces. It's been difficult, and we saw it in that game against Portland, where the team allowed 4 goals. Like the defense, especially the transition defense, wasn't very good. But you also have to give some credit to Portland just because they
Yeah.
have very talented players that can make a difference anytime if you give them a space. We saw it on that set piece from Evander. Even the first goal that Portland scored, it was after an errant pass from Chris Dorkin that caught everybody going the wrong direction. I was when we talk about it on Flyover Footy, like when that pass went in the wrong direction, City had 8 guys going into Portland's field, and Portland just very quickly in transition talented players and
Yeah.
took advantage of it. So yeah, a lot of work to do with that transition defense. But the fact that the offense is kind of making up for that a little bit, and I say a little bit because yeah, you score a lot, but you don't win. So, but the fact that the offense could make up for that, um, it's just that margins are so small, and you don't have a lot of games left in the season. So it's something that has to be fixed quickly.
Yes, and to be fair, we maybe this isn't a problem because Portland is the highest scoring team in the West, second highest in the league. I mean, you saw it, Santiago. Like the second they transition, even if they don't get that ball to the right guy immediately, it is like pass, 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 pass,
Hmm.
and I mean, you just are running all over the place to try to catch up with the quick passing as they're running at you, and so, boy, I mean, I would say Phil Neville is really prove that he's a good coach after what happened in Miami. That he's put together a good squad that's doing what he's planning, and they're doing it well. So props to them. Maybe this isn't a problem. We'll see how we look against LA Galaxy at home, which is something I want to talk about. As Tom Franklin, soccer zombie himself, is sitting on the bench waiting to come in for the wind down. We're going to cover that a little bit with him. But let's preview LA Galaxy just a little bit. Their standings in form, they're 13th in the West, 4-10-12 record with 24 points in 26 games, 36 goals forced, 50 goal. Oh, no, so sorry. I'm reading the St. Louis stats again. They're first in the West, 15-5-7 record with 52 points. They have a 16 plus 16 goal differential. They're only 5-4-4 away this year. In the Leagues Cup, they were bounced after the first round. They lost to Seattle, so kind of a similar, amount of minutes put in the Leagues Cup for them as it was for us. They just beat Atlanta at home 2-0 in LA. That is. I think the big news for that is that Royce subbed in the 62nd minute, and he scored. He got an assist, and then he scored a goal. And so, are we worried about that? There's other news that will affect this, but that's not encouraging, right? As we see Royce come in and have an effect immediately.
Yeah, yeah. To be honest, I thought it was gonna take him a little longer to adapt and make a difference, but obviously he had a different idea. Was very important in that game. Was on both goals with an assist and then scoring on his debut from the bench. So yeah, it's one more piece from this LA Galaxy that St. Louis is gonna have to worry about on top of all the other talented players.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you have you have Pencil, you have Ricky Puig. Although it looks he got a yellow card last time, and he was on he was on a warning for accumulation of yellow cards. So looks unless there is like an appeal and it is reverted or something like that, he's gonna be out
Yeah.
for this game. And you also have his name is escaping right now. Oh, Gabriel Peck, Brazilian guy who
Mm-hmm.
he played against City back in March, but he was just coming into the league, but you could still see his quality. It was one of his first games, but now he has scored a lot of goals and assisted, and he's also an important piece for this LA Galaxy team. So even if Ricky Puig is out, you still have Peck, you have Pencil, who gave a lot of headaches to St. Louis on that right side when
Yeah.
Galaxy and City drew 3-3, which is something that people have also been talking about. City like Galaxy is one of the teams that from the conference that City has not been able to get 3 points from, but at the same time, it hasn't lost to Galaxy, and the games have been 1-1, 2-2. The last one was 3-3. Maybe we're headed for a 4-4, although that happened last week against Portland. So who knows?
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I was wondering if we'd just climb the draw goal scoring there. Let's stick with the lineup because we do want to prepare everybody for the game. This will be playing on, if you're listening to us on the Big 550 KTRS, I do believe we're playing right before this game on Sunday, midday game. Bring your water, right? But there's availability reports to some extent. I haven't found an official one, but talking to the guys in News Across the Galaxy last night, it sounds like Auda is possibly going to be available. John Nelson, who we traded to the
He has
Galaxy,
been
or
playing.
yeah, he's been playing and they like him for all the reasons that we liked him, right? And so it was cool to hear them love on him a little bit, happy for him doing well there and getting minutes. But part of that is because Julian Auda is out right now at left back. He's, I think, questionable for the next game. Amiro Garces is out for sure. He's a center back. The big one here, you mentioned Paintsel, and the big one is Dejan Joveljic. Not sure if I said that correctly. He's been questionable. I think he's going to be available similar to Klaus in this game, but I'm not certain. But if he is able to play, the lineup for the Galaxy in the last game and lately, because my first thought was, oh, the Galaxy are coming back. Paintsel burned the heck out of us in the last game.
Hmm.
He's been playing as a number 9, as a striker.
Right.
Uh, and then they've got Peck on the right and Fagundes, who is playing on the left. Royce came in for him. And, let's talk about this too. If Puig is out, do we think Royce slots right in? The guys last night on News Across the Galaxy mentioned Fagundes could play as the 10. This is fun to talk about, but Paintsel, is he available? We had a question from Chris Klein earlier about Paintsel burning Horn. Well, if he plays as a 9, will he be burning Hebert and Kessler? Pardon me, I
Kessler, yeah.
haven't gotten acquainted there. Or will Paintsel be able to play on the right with Jovic coming back to some extent? So all that being known, Santiago, what are your thoughts on Royce, Jovic, Paintsel, Fagundes, Peck? It's a really deadly attacking four.
Yeah, it's a very stock lineup. Yeah, I think since Jovelich has been out a few games, even if he's available, I don't think he would start. So maybe City will catch a break, and instead of Pencil there on the right wing, he will continue on that number 9 role. But yeah, Fagundes will probably slot to that number 10 role. That's a player that I never understood why Austin let him go, because he was really good for them and he has been really good for Galaxy too. Um, so yeah, I think City will catch a little bit of a break, but you still have not even if you don't have Painter, you have Peck, Gabriel
Yeah.
Peck on the right wing. So it's also a high caliber player that has shown that he's good on this league. So the fact that Pencil will be at number 9, I think City is still gonna have to deal with Gabriel Peck on the right, and if Facundes is slots to the number 10, it will be interesting to see who they put at left wing. I don't think Royce will start.
Okay.
I think they will continue like giving him minutes, ramping up his minutes. Especially they're in first place. You don't really need to risk an injury. You can take
Yeah.
it easy with a new guy like Royce, and just ramp him up and get him ready for the playoffs. Because you're in first place, you control your destiny, and what a better way to get a difference maker like Royce than having the time to get him used to the league and to his teammates without rushing him.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I was pretty bullish on Royce starting at the 10 position since Puig was out, but what better time to test out some guys and give them time at that role, a role they don't get to see very often. You never know if someone's going to get hurt. You need someone ready to go. And I like the idea of giving Royce a rest and not rushing him back. He put in a lot of minutes at Dortmund, and he's not young, right? That's one of the things we mentioned about him not coming to St. Louis. So, lastly, there is a chart in Opta, and Matt gave me
Mhm.
all his links that I could go look at this
Yeah.
Opta chart, and it is team style comparison. And so one column is the direct speed, direct passing, and the other is passes per sequence. And in the top left corner, this is the most extreme corner any team is on this chart, is St. Louis City, the most direct and the least passes per segment. And the furthest to the right, not the lowest, not the least direct team, but they do have the most passes per sequence is LA Galaxy by a lot, even way more than Columbus, which I found interesting. So, Santiago, I think it's fair to say we know what these two teams are going to look like out there. We're going to see Galaxy possessing the ball, millions of passes, controlling the game, trying to keep away from St. Louis, trying to make them miss on the press, trying to break the press. And then once the press is broken, it's on for them, right? And I think St. Louis's goal is to trap them in their own game, make them pass into us. And how often can that happen? And how often can St. Louis capitalize on, the inevitable bad pass in their own third? So what do you think, Santiago? I thought this chart was incredible.
Yeah, constructing a style for sure. Two different teams, but at the same time, I think St. Louis has evolved and changed a little bit. Even though these stats still show him as being a very fast and direct team and lowest passes per sequence, but you have seen in the last few games, St. Louis can go sequences of 10, 15 passes. Trying to find a space. And the one thing, I think City can combine that and also be more selective with the press, knowing what Galaxy can do. I think
Mhm.
if they watch the tape from that March game, they will see that Galaxy used long balls to pencil. So that's
That's
something
true.
they're gonna be keeping an eye. If it's not pencil, it's gonna be Gabriel Peck. But yeah, I think City is not unidimensional anymore. It has new players, more weapons, and is also trying to implement a different style of play. It's still pressing, but
Mhm.
it's not like pressing 100% of the time. So there are gonna be moments where City will press and try to get a turnover, but at the same time, I think they will mix it up, and the way Galaxy plays, they will open some space too, because they uh, they like possession, and when they have a numerical, like a lot of numbers in City's field, that's when City will be able to recover the ball and do quick transitions. So yeah, it'll be a very interesting game, to different styles, and a team like City who needs a result, and maybe Galaxy will be trying to take advantage of that too.
Yeah, I think so. So we will see how that plays out. I do think more than likely, I think you're right there, Santiago, that maybe it'll be a little more practical a press, but it's possible they double down on the press just because to try to take advantage of that possession game. And maybe even having Pujat means they may be more practical, right? They may rely on the long ball, like you said, even more than last time. So we'll just see how it plays out. I'm excited about this game. There's going to be a lot of mental chess going on, tactical chess, and it could go a lot of different ways. Even though those styles are quite obviously contrasting, it'll be fun. So that's it, I think, for previewing for us. I think it's time for us to start previewing the lineup, maybe give a guess at the score. You're listening to Flyover Footy on the Big 550 KTRS. We do thank you for joining us as we talk about this game between St. Louis City and LA Galaxy. It'll be played on a Sunday. You know that if you're listening in the middle of the day. So let's Santiago, do you want to go first on your lineup, or do you want me to kind of throw one out there?
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay.
Go
I
first.
Matt and I tend to think pretty similarly anyway. You usually disagree on one or two things. So I think this is perfect. I can be the baseline today, and then Santi can get creative here. I'm going to go with Berkey, of course. Totland is like the one guy in the back four that I think we could rely on every single game in and out this season. I think Kessler's going to come back, Hebert, and I am going to guess that Horn starts this one. And this was,
Wow.
I believe Matt was disagreeing with that last week, right? But I do think Horn's going to come in and start, and I think maybe they have special instructions, right, to make sure he's keeping an eye on Peck, making sure Kessler and Hebert, who are quick guys, you know, quicker than Parker, I think, keep an eye on Paintsel. So watching for that. Durkin and Leuven, of course, Thorson, Teukert, Hartle, and Betcher. That's my guess. I think more and more of the same. I think Horn's the only weird one for me, but what do you think about that?
Yeah, I don't have Horn on my starting
Mm-hmm.
lineup, but other than that, I pretty much agree with you. The one thought I have, but I am undecided if he will play right back or left back. I think Akil Watts is gonna start in this
Oh,
game. I still undecided on whether he goes in for Totland or if he goes as a left back on Jaden Reed's position. But
hmm.
other than that, same thing. Kessler and Heber as center backs. Then Totland, Reed, and or Akil Watts, and then midfield and attack. It's just the guys that have been working well for City. Dorkin, Leuven, Torrison, Toyshard, Hartel, and Becher. Like Leuven, the way he has
Mm.
he has risen his level
Yeah.
with having a Toyshard and Hardell. It has been amazing to see, and he has more freedom, and he doesn't have to worry so much about being the creator. He still goes along and participates, but I think the having Hardell and Toyshard has been great for Edu Leuven.
Completely agree. You know, what was your quickly? We don't have much time, but what did you think about Watts? What made you think that about him subbing in at fullback?
Well, Coach Hawkward has said that with giving up 4 goals and some goals being given up on both the right side and the left side, that there is a lot of competition for those positions and things the team has to correct. So I think Akil Watts could be a good option. Could be a good option either on the left side or the right side. When he has come in, he has done well, and if you need to make a change, I think that's the change to make.
Cool. Yeah, I could see him coming in and pinning back the defense of LA Galaxy by getting really high, especially if we're behind. I could definitely see that. I like it. The last thing I want to mention that is my favorite tweet from Matt Baker last week was the goals added by Kessler and
Yes.
Horn were the two highest in the team. So something to watch. How is Kessler's passing out of the back as he tries to defend? And then is Horn going to come in as a sub and as an attacking sub, similar to what we said about Watts? He played some center back too, so maybe we rely on him to play some very defensive, responsible left back.
5 in the back when you have the lead.
Oh, who knows? Who knows? And we didn't belabor the point like I thought we would, but you know, defensive solidity is what we want in this one. Improvement at the very least. So whatever that looks like, whether that's sitting back or maybe making a point not to sit back too much. Interested to watch that as well. All right, we've gone a little bit too long, but thank you so much for joining us for Flyover Footy on the Big 550 KTRS. We are presented by Noble Ice Vineyards. Again, thank you for joining us. Enjoy the game, everyone. We'll talk to
No
you next time.
score prediction.
Okay, go for it. Real quick, real quick.
3-2 City.
4-3 City. Let's go. Bye, everyone.
Vamos.
Tom,
Hey, what's up, guys?
what's
Hey
up?
Tom, how's it going?
It's going good, going good. There was a 3 hour delay before the Open Cup game Tuesday night because of weather. So the fact that this is just a half-hour delay means things are definitely improving.
I'm so sorry for the wait, especially this
No,
week
you're
after what
don't
you went through.
be.
It
Don't
was,
be. College football 25's out. I
oh
can,
my gosh.
I'm leading USF to glory.
I love it. That's fun.
Yeah.
That game looks so fun. I was obsessed with NCAA back in the day.
Dude, and I tell you what, like, were you a big Dynasty mode player
Oh, of
back
course.
in the day?
That's all I played.
The it is still addictive as crack. It really is. It nothing has changed. Nothing has changed. I've not been a big fan of EA Sports games the past couple of
Oh,
years, but this feels like a throwback to me. Like this feels like old times.
very cool. Yeah, I mean, I play nothing but manager mode on FIFA. Actually, I'm in like 2034 in the current
Oh,
game.
really?
Yeah, ridiculous. But
Yeah, yeah. Need to get you hooked on a Football Manager.
yeah, I know. I tried it and I was like, this is too much. I don't have time for
Yeah,
this.
yeah. FIFA Career Manager mode is like the gateway drug to
Yes.
Football Manager. It is the kiddie pool compared to Football Manager's ocean, which it's the ocean that scares people away. So
Fair enough. Yeah.
yeah,
I'm gonna grab a beer and then we'll get started. Cool.
sounds good, man.
Yeah, I'll be back too.
All right, sounds good. Figures I show up and everyone leaves. By the way, Musasek, I see you're in the chat. I got a little addition to the scarf wall up there. In fact, actually, Tulsa is blocking it a little bit. Hang on. There we go. That's better. There we go. Musaseka, by the way, is a Tampa Bay guy. So, yep. Rowdy scarf. I also got I got a heat wave scarf. That's the supporters group for the Tampa Bay Sun. It's off camera. It's over that way. So, oh gosh. Welcome to the River City Ramble takeover of Flyover Footy. I mean, who's going to stop me? They all left. Oh, Mo, you got yours too. Nice. Okay, everyone, Phil's back. Shh.
I deserve whatever was said. I'm sure of
I
it.
didn't. Nah. I was just Musasek is a big Tampa guy, so I was just showing off my Tampa Bay Rowdy scarf that I put up behind
Nice.
me. So yeah,
I love Tampa. I truly do. My sister lives there. Actually,
same.
finally went to a game. I didn't get anything though. Yeah, I did. I got a
Yeah,
shirt. I got a T-shirt.
Fun fact: I was born there.
Oh, for real?
Yeah, I was born in Tampa. I only lived there for 3 years, and then I moved up to St. Louis. So people ask me, I'm a St. Louisan because that's all I remember. But I got family down there, and the Rowdies was fun. You ever been to a Rowdies game?
Yes, once.
Okay, I never thought I would like a converted baseball stadium, but
Mm.
it's the setting's perfect. The setting's absolutely perfect. It's right by the bay. The Rowdies fans are indeed rowdy. So
Yeah. Great.
yeah.
Yeah, great environment, and it was cool. It's like a throwback too, because it feels like it was maybe built in the '80s or something like that.
Well, it's Al Lang Stadium, which used to be the St. Louis Cardinals spring training stadium back in the
Oh my
70s.
gosh! Now I didn't know that.
Yeah, the Al Lang is old. Like it's an old stadium.
Wow.
And in fact, actually, like within the last 10 to 15 years, when the Tampa Bay Rays were talking about getting a new stadium, like they were talking about knocking over Al Lang and putting in their own stadium there. Didn't happen, obviously, but yeah, Al Lang is it's a throwback. It's kind of like the Rowdies. The Rowdies they lean heavy
Yes.
into their retro past.
So good. And then more and more every year they do. That's really cool that they do.
Yeah, they actually found some like old stock of like old NASL buttons that like from the 80s. Like they were a little rusty, so like I had to like dig through to find one that wasn't like completely rusty, but it was like, yeah,
Love it.
why not? Why not?
I keep waiting for Jeremy Allenball to like show us his collection of random USL stuff. Like someday we'll have to get
Yeah,
that.
I've got to
from
catch
him.
up. I've got to catch up. I'm trying with the like USL scars behind me, but I got a ways to go.
Yeah. I've promised my wife to stop.
There you go.
Well, I've told my wallet I was going to stop, but my wallet doesn't talk back to me, so I keep going.
That I get. Well, let's hit record here. I want to ask you a little bit about the lineup or anything you want to say about LA Galaxy, and then we'll go into you, and I want to hear all about this indie game too.
Oh
or
yeah,
your whole tour that you just went on. So,
gotcha.
Here we go. Oh, you know what? Oh, I have a can here. Look, it's fate. I didn't open the can. I always rely on Matt to do the thing. So or Santiago, would you, or Tom, would you like to do the honors? Santiago,
you know what? You know what? I got a can. I got one right here. I can do it.
No, I'm gonna do it. I just
go for it. It's your shtick.
Here we go. Missing Matt, so I will do the thing. Welcome everyone to the wind down. There we go.
Good job.
That was weird. I get double the pay for this one, guys.
All right.
Joining us today, Tom Franklin, famous from Soccer Zombie, the YouTube channel in St. Louis here. Honored to have you on the show, sir. Thank you for joining us. How are you doing?
You know, is there an echo in this room here? I was another can opening there. By the way, I'm rocking an old style tonight.
Well done.
I'm going Illinois side of the border. So, but no, doing great. Thanks for having me.
It's so funny you say that. I lived in New York for 1 year, and the cheap beer is Yingling, and I happen to be drinking a weird Yingling. It's actually really good, but old style Yingling. I feel like it's in the same category there.
Yeah, it's very similar, and Yingling's not bad at all.
I like it.
Yeah,
portable for sure.
That's the important thing.
Santiago has a Modelo. I think that's in the same vein as well. Yeah, very nice. Yeah. Well, Tom, we just talked about the Galaxy, and we did it without Matt, and I wanted to make sure you had your say here about perhaps you want to give your lineup, or if you'd like to kind of say what you'd like to see in this game. I'd love to hear your thoughts.
Well, I think we saw very promising signs. We have been seeing promising signs from the offense, really since the Leagues Cup. I think the new arrivals have come as more or less as advertised. If anything, Betcher's been maybe a little bit of a surprise. I mean, we know that he has goals in his locker, from his time at Vancouver, but the fact that he's starting off hot, I think is a good sign for him. Maybe a little controversy, with Klaus coming back. I mean, how does that split work, in terms of playing time? I mean, of course, Klaus is going to be working his way back to health. So I think I wouldn't shock me to see if Betcher still got, at least a couple more starts down the road until Klaus is fully ready. But the thing with the game this weekend against Portland, it was kind of the same old story with St. Louis and road games where we get a lead, just can't hold it. Just can't hold it for the life of us. And I'm really kind of curious to see, going up against the Galaxy. We know what the Galaxy are capable of. We know what Jeremy Paintsel is capable of. He won't have Anthony Marcanic trying to defend him this time. This time he might have. I wouldn't be surprised if they go with Giannis Horn at left back, just because I think between him and Reed, I think Horn is the better defender of the two, and I wouldn't be surprised, with Paintsel, coming into town, if they try to, put someone more defensive minded on him. But you also brought up a good point during the show that Horn has been kind of in off-season mode too. So if he starts, I don't think he plays the full 90 for sure.
Yeah, I agree with that. Dewar came in to kind of solidify things last time against
Who?
Paintsel. Exactly.
Yeah,
Just a thought I was having. So
and you know what? That was his one shining moment.
Yeah.
Like
yeah,
that was like
it
he
was.
came in and he put Paintsel in his back pocket so much Paintsel switched sides,
Right.
and then Dewar became like a Spinal Tap drummer, and we never saw him again.
That's right. Good reference. I like it. So another shot that I meant to get in the main segment there is someone was saying they wanted to see more of Jake Gerwood Reich, and I saw that Matt mentioned that I think last week about is he going to get more time or is he not? And I think the big question was, what does he have to do to get a start or to get more time? And that means like he's up against Kessler, Hebert, and Durkin. I don't think he can touch Leuven, of course. So those are the
No.
three, right, that he would have to overcome. And what do you guys think about that thought process?
I mean, with Girdwood Reich, I think one thing we have to remember is that he's a youngin. Like he is, 20 years
20.
old.
Yeah.
He's someone that I think the team, if anything, wants to be a little careful with because he's really one of the first guys that St. Louis probably brought in as more of an investment type,
Hmm.
a type that you bring him in from Australia. He's even spoken a few times out in the public about how he wants to eventually be in Europe, and perhaps he sees St. Louis as that kind of a launching pad. So obviously, you want to do right by him. You also want to set an example for other youngsters that might be looking at MLS as a launching pad. Hey, they developed Girdwood Reich, and now he's playing at I don't know Brighton or wherever he goes on to down the road. But he got to start in St. Louis. So I think they're still going to be careful with him. We have seen Girdwood Reich get in games here and there off the bench, but to earn a start, like honestly, and I'm knocking on wood hard here, might need an injury.
Yeah.
Mm.
Honestly,
Well, and I wanted to ask you this, Santi, because we talked about this in DMs when we were mentioning availability. The one quote we'd left out was that Blom is available. He wasn't practicing fully right this week, but he seemed to be training more. So he's available for selection is the quote we have.
Yeah.
And so, we were looking at shutting that game down against Portland and how really, if you're going to do what they did in that game and sit back and wait, Blom was probably the best player to have in your 11. Literally the best player to throw into that 11. And he wasn't available, and JGR was in the game. You know what I mean? So, anyway, Santiago, I thought I'd let you kind of talk about that. There's rumors about Blom.
Yeah, he would have been perfect to close that game. Unfortunately, he wasn't available. He wasn't on the game day roster, but I just don't think things, at least for this rest of the season, things are looking really good for him. As you mentioned, he was in training yesterday, but he was doing some things on the side for portions of the practice. And then when Coach Hackward was asked about him, he didn't say much, and look at John Gasparoni. He was like, "What can I say?" And then he ended up saying that he was going to be available for selection. So I think there is a story there. There is
Okay. This
more
is why
to
you're here,
it.
Santiago. Thank you so much. That's a lot of
Maybe
context there.
maybe we'll find out more soon. We'll see.
Tom, one last thing, because I want to we don't have a ton of time in this second segment here, and I want to get into you and everything you've been doing lately and for the last couple
sure.
of years. So, but any last thoughts about City and the lineup and everything?
Honestly, I don't, if I were to pick a lineup, like honestly, I don't change a whole lot from Portland. I think that attacking four, with Thor on the right, Toykert in the middle, Hartle on the left, and Betcher up top, that's perfect. Leuven and Durkin, that's perfectly fine. Um, I wish Durkin was a little better at distributing the ball, but that's a whole other argument for another podcast. But the back four, I mean, I still think there's a case to be made if Giannis Horn is deemed fit and ready to go. I think there's a case for him to start at left back. But honestly, I don't see a reason why Totland should be on the bench. I don't see a reason at this point why Kessler should be on the bench. I think Kessler, he needs game time, because he, as you guys mentioned in the first segment, he hadn't been getting a lot of game time, so he needs to get the rust off and acclimate to the new system. So yeah, I don't. The only change I possibly see is Horn coming in at left back over Reed, but I can honestly see Reed there as well. So, just figure out how to hold on a lead, and I think we'll hold on to a lead. And I think we'll be okay.
Sounds like we all think there might be a lead to defend, so I like that. What is your score prediction? And then we'll move on.
I am so sick and tired of predicting ties because we've had so many ties this year, and it feels like they come true. I think this could be a fun game. I don't see any reason why we can't, come out on the front foot. And if we do tighten up on defense, I'm predicting 3-2. I'm predicting 3-2 City.
That's
3-2
what I
City
had too.
Yeah. Hey, great minds, right?
Love
Let's
it.
do it, Tom.
Yes.
Good stuff, man. Totally agree. Don't disagree with anything you said. So, Tom, I want to, like I said, dig into what you have been doing. Let's start at the beginning quickly. I mean, we won't go too deep, but when did you start this? Because I know I came across you probably early, mid last season, but you've probably been doing it longer. I'm not always on top of that kind of thing. But you started your YouTube channel. Like, when did you start and like why? What was the goal? What was your vision?
It's so funny because you say that because you think I have this polish as a seasoned YouTuber, and I started the channel on Christmas week of last year.
Love it.
So I've only been going for about 8 months, honestly. But I was inactive on Twitter before then, and the reason there was a couple of reasons I decided to start a YouTube channel. Number one, I was bored. And I was working an overnight job where I had a lot of downtime, and I worked from home. So I was like, well, I mean, it's not totally social, but it's kind of social to, just go on camera and talk about City. So, and it was just going to be something I did on the side, just as a fun thing. And, turns out you guys apparently like my stuff. So it just kind of grew from there. But, no, I had worked in TV and radio for 14 years, mostly in radio, with a little dip at Fox 2. And I got out of the business a couple of years ago, but I guess the business never got out of me. So that's why I'm on YouTube.
Well, I mean, you develop some skills and you're using them for the good of St. Louis, in my opinion. What kind of stuff did you do with radio and TV?
Oh, I was a news guy. I worked for KMOX for 3 years. I ran Total Information AM, our morning show. I was the news editor, so I wasn't on air, but Debbie Monterey, Tom Ackerman, you guys know them. They I set up their newscasts and kind of guided them through the show. And so I was mostly a newsman before then. And with the interestingly enough, so one reason I decided to do the YouTube was because producer Mason from River City Ramble, who now I'm a part of that show, last year I watched the game with him, and he's like, Tom, you should start a podcast. You should start a podcast. I'm like, first of all,
wow,
you guys, I can't compete with you three. Matt Baker, he's the OG, and respect where respect is due. And so I was like, well, I had also kind of started getting into there's a Doncaster Rovers fan that's a fan of St. Louis City SC. His name is Chal, and Aaron Challoner, and he has a YouTube channel for the Doncaster Rovers, and he's always like, whenever there's transfers, he's always doing a video on the transfers, and just stuff like that. And I was thinking, and I was looking at YouTube, and I'm like, no one's really doing that for St. Louis City. Like, there's plenty. I mean, you guys have your podcast. There's a lot of other podcasts, but like in that style, there just wasn't anyone doing it. So I was like, throw some spaghetti on the wall, see if it sticks.
Mm-hmm.
And turns out it's pretty sticky.
Yeah, but it's it's a good product. I love finding out why. And the fact is that you've been in the business. And so the polish makes a ton of sense now. You knowing just instinctively what to do makes a ton of sense. But I would say that, my favorite part is like every once in a while, I can tell either you come across or you put time into creating a nice turn of phrase. Like, I don't know if you script some of it and don't script some of it, but I love when you're a great improv guy too, for sure. But like, I really love when I can tell you put time and thought into like what you're going to say and how and when.
Well, yeah, and it's interesting how the channel has kind of evolved because I just wanted to do St. Louis City content. That was it. That was all I
Yeah.
wanted to do. And then what changed was a couple of things. Number one, I came upon the story of Reading FC in England, who are going through an absolutely miserable ownership situation.
Yeah.
And I was bored at work one day, and I came upon a story of how the owner was trying to sell their like $50 million training ground that was open just a few years ago for pennies on the dollar, because he was trying to basically make payroll, for his club. I mean, and I'm just sitting there like, first of all, I can't imagine, Carolyn Kindle and St. Louis selling our training ground for pennies on the dollar.
Well, that's why we love her
And
the most. You know what I mean?
exactly. And
Being
it's like, and it's
custard.
like, and I guess my inner journalist kicked in, because it's like, this is just, I got to do a video on this because this is kind of wild. And then like a bunch of Reading people from Reading, England, they saw the video, and like they were like very appreciative that an American of all people was talking about their little club. I went to England on a trip I was already going to go to a couple months later, and I was like, because I was doing St. Louis City vlogs for a little bit, and I was like, while I'm over there, I have a cell phone that has a camera on it. Why not? And that's where I started doing the vlogging. And of course, I can't be in England all the time. It'd be nice, but I I can't be there all the time. So it's like, how can I translate that here in America? And we have the USL Championship, USL League One, USL League Two, and I'm a fan of soccer. Soccer's been in my life all my life, but I've been like really getting deep into soccer the last couple of years, and I think there's a lot of people like me that are like really starting to get into the game that may not even realize that like a Union Omaha exists, or an FC Tulsa exists, or they might have heard of the Rowdies, from the NASL days, but there's, I think, a bit of a perception issue when it comes to lower league soccer in America. And so that's why I've been going around trying to, as much as I physically can, because everything's so spread out in America, you got to travel to these places. But I've been trying to get to these places just to show the world what Indy 11's about, or what FC Tulsa's about, or what have you.
Well, you fed me the transition, and I'm not going to let it bypass me. I love the bleeding heart. Nothing speaks to me more than someone who cares about that kind of stuff. And, I kind of thought everyone felt that way to some degree, or could be convinced to feel that way to some degree. And then the Leagues Cup stuff happened, and I was like, well, maybe not. Man, I don't know if St. Louis will ever get there, like in a large number. And of course not. I should have realized that. But you and I are so like-minded. I haven't said it yet, but we've never met in real life, and this is like my
No?
excuse to meet
What?
you, and so that's why all this is so freaking fresh. But this is just it's the way it is. But I want to hear about, you just went and visited some USL clubs, saw some USL games, and then you went to Pièce de Resistance, the semifinal to the Open Cup with Indy 11, full of St. Louis connected players, we'll say,
Oh yeah, 4
against our
players. Yeah.
rival. Against our rival SKC. So that's going to be the cherry on top. We'll finish with that. But tell me about this little mini tour that you did. When you did this, I was like, Tom is my boy. That is like exactly the kind of thing I wish I could do.
So the tour I had planned for, a little bit, and it was right after really everything blew up with the Open Cup and MLS's involvement in it. And, then, the supporters groups were going to boycott the League's Cup, and I was going to support them in that. But at the same time, it's like, okay, that is a whole month of me not going to St. Louis games. And I love soccer. I want to see this sport
Wow.
grow in this country. Also, it's a good time of year for me to get away because I don't have a lot, extra going on. I do public address for St. Louis University soccer sometimes. I'm their volleyball guy, and I also do stuff for UMSL. So it's like, summer's the off season. So it's like, well, I can get out and go see some games and do something productive besides just sitting at home, taking my proverbial ball and going home, during the League's Cup.
Yeah, fair.
And so I, went over the schedule, figured out, when can I be at these games? And my schedule changed like 10 times because I would one of the things that changed was that, after I made like my fourth or fifth draft of my schedule, Eintracht Frankfurt came to Louisville, or excuse me, Louisville. I had people correct me on that. Louisville. Eintracht Frankfurt came to Louisville for their one U.S. game in their U.S. tour, and I had
That's
to go
so
and figure
crazy.
out. I had to go and figure out why. And I figured out why, because they have a tremendous stadium, and they actually have they're like the gold standard for like USL championship like infrastructure.
Absolutely.
Good team as well too, and
Not for crest design though. There's a bit of a throwback, but continue, please.
well, and also we can't heap too much praise on Louisville because of the King's Cup. So
Yes, thank you.
yes,
So
yes, I have to.
so many bad memories from St.
Oh
Louis FC
no,
playing Louisville FC.
Yeah,
but
there's
that's
one good
and
thing
that's
that came out of Louisville, and it was Sean Reynolds. Thank you very much. Please continue.
yes, and and that's one of my regrets is that I returned to St. Louis in 2019, and I made it to one St. Louis FC game before they
I'm glad you
folded. So
did.
it's yeah, and it actually was against the Rowdies. It was actually against the Tampa Bay
Nice.
Rowdies of all teams. But I always felt bad that I couldn't go to more games. So it's like, I'm making up for that. But yeah, so like, talked to a lot of Frankfurt fans, Louisville fans. That was a good time. And just seeing like, to me, it was like an eye opener for like, this is what lower league soccer in America could be. Like, this is
Yeah.
like, that stadium is that needs to be like the blueprint. Like, that's the bar, everyone has to, clear. Union Omaha is building their own stadium that's going to be hopefully open in 2026. They'll move up to the championship when they do. It's a 7,000 seater. It's going to be really nice. And there's going to be more. I mean, there's so many teams. Well, Indy 11 tried to get a stadium built,
Oh man,
but
I wish we had time for that. We'll bring
yeah,
you back to that.
that's a whole podcast,
Yeah.
with that situation. But yeah, I think lower league soccer in general is like really kind of on a springboard moment, where there's interest in the game growing in the country, and people in these communities are discovering their clubs. Like when I went to FC Tulsa, for instance, they play in a baseball field, and they do the best with it as they can. But I went with my cousin and her family, her husband, and two young boys, and now they're like super diehard FC Tulsa fans because they went to one game.
That's
And
all.
it was a 0-0 draw. It was yeah. I mean, it wasn't the greatest of games, but they loved it so much. They're now fans of it, and so I think there's more and more people like that coming along.
That's why I kind of obsess over giving the Luligans credit, because I think it was my first experience at St. Louis FC was like, I was a fan of the national team, and I just was like, well, I love soccer. St. Louis as a team now. I'm just going to go check it out. And I wasn't sold. I just wanted to see what it was like. And it was exactly what I saw from European clubs because of the Luligans. You know what I mean? I mean, and everything St. Louis FC did too. So, credit to them, because that point I was hooked. It was that
Well,
moment that got me.
And I'll admit,
They
the
probably
Luligans
lost, knowing St. Louis FC. They probably lost the game. You know what I mean?
well, I credit the Luligans and really the the whole supporters group culture, Santos included, for helping me with fall in love with the game, and just
Yes.
seeing the community that we have. You may be wondering, why am I wearing Union Omaha stuff? That's my lower league club now. And it's my lower league club because when I visited them in May, it was for their Open Cup match against Sporting Kansas City. It was in Omaha.
Nice.
There was almost 5,000 people that were there, which is amazing. And they almost pulled off the upset. KC got the game winner in the 119th minute. It was tragic. But the people I met there, like the head of their supporters group, the Omaha Parliament, Hunter Fangmeyer, he picked me up from the airport, and like he showed me around, and like he could not have been more welcoming.
Yeah.
And the Omaha, the Parliament, I met them before the game. They were super cool, super chill, and I was really happy that they had this little community there. And I just kind of like, yeah, that's gonna be in my lower league club now. Also, so I can say that I was there when they play in the championship. I was there in their League One days, so
Yeah,
I can claim
absolutely.
I can claim that. I can claim that. But of course,
Yeah.
I'll always cheer for St. Louis if they ever play again. But yeah,
and that is so like, number one, there's a little Midwest charm mixed into that, but on top of that, that is so lower league soccer. I mean, you'll get that with USL Championship to some degree. You know what I mean? Like, you reach out, they're more than happy to accommodate anyone that's willing to kind of invest in them in any way. So,
and the other thing that's lower league soccer about Union Omaha is that their baseball stadium is not good. for soccer, at least. It's a good baseball stadium. It's a bad soccer stadium.
Okay. Well, they're working on that, right?
Santiago, they are.
We are cutting you out of this conversation. I apologize, but I didn't know if you had...
I'm listening to you guys. I think it's amazing to see soccer communities and what Tom is doing and going to different places. It just reminds me of the USL days when we were supporting St. Louis FC and going to games, and I had a chance to call some games, met amazing people. Like that's how I met Phil and Matt and Stuart. So yeah, it was great times, and obviously a different league. But when you see teams like you mentioned Union Omaha, you mentioned Louisville. I have been to that stadium a few times. Obviously, some painful games between St. Louis FC and Louisville, but they have a great thing going on there, and they have a great structure and talented players. Sometimes I wish St. Louis City will steal some of those Louisville players, and I think Phil knows who I'm talking about. But yeah, they have a great thing going on, and there are a few cities that have that great USL culture, and is great to see soccer growing in different cities and in different spaces.
Agree.
Now it's funny you mentioned taking Louisville players. I've heard some St. Louis fans calling for us to take Louisville's coach, Cruz.
Oh, I like him. I've interviewed him actually. If I can be that guy, I apologize for what I just did.
Dude, go ahead. I'm literally being that guy for the last 20 minutes, so go for it.
No, I have nothing else to say, but I think he had to step in. This is relevant because he had to step into Hackworth's shoes, right? Who was extremely successful, and Hackworth took over for O'Connor, who was still in the system, and I think he had it easier. I could be wrong. But I think, it's been impressive what Cruz has been able to do consistently because he made it his in year one. He changed the system. He didn't just keep a good thing going, which was risky in Louisville because it was already good. Right. So yeah, good stuff. I talked to him about it a little bit, and I think he took it I talked to him in year one, and obviously at this point he's a pro, he's the best. So, good shot there. But, I want to talk about the semifinal. Crazy one. We tried to get Jake to come in as well, who's been on the show before. I love that you two kind of hooked up on that, and you included him in the show, the YouTube video that you posted about that. But tell us about the night. Just go off. I want to hear all about it.
Well, first of all, Jake is one of the reasons I was even able to do this tour because he actually bookended my tour. He went with me to Louisville, and then he went with me to, or, excuse me, Louisville, and then he went with me to KC, and that was kind of a last minute thing. But he helped pay for gas, so thank you, Jake, for making sure I got there.
Great.
But and he's enjoying Pearl Jam right now in
Exactly.
Chicago, so he's having
That's
fun.
why he's not
But
here as well. Yes.
so the Indy 11 and Sporting KC match. So Tuesday, it was Tuesday, and it was boiling hot, in St. Louis. It was boiling hot in Kansas City. That's, it was really no difference in temperature. We get to Nebraska Furniture Mart. We parked in the Nebraska Furniture Mart lot because we were not doing the orange lot because it was almost 100 degrees, and I want to actually make it to the stadium. So
Is that
we
free
parked.
or is that risky? I've done that once and then we paid every other time because I thought it was illegal. Do we know the situation with that?
What, with the orange lot?
No, with the furniture lot. Is it legal to park there?
Yeah, well, yeah, they sell parking passes for the furniture lot. Yeah, so we bought a parking pass, and you can park in the Furniture Mart lot. Yep.
I got away with parking there free one time. It was the first time I was there. Anyway, continue.
I will say, honestly, it would not be the most difficult to find your way on that lot for free. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
Got it.
Please don't commit criminal acts. But so the moment we stepped out of our car, it started raining. Like it was very slow at first, and by the time we got in, like the wind had picked up, and then the lightning came along, and the weather delay started. Now there wasn't a lot of people there to begin with because the weather, it was nasty. It was almost 100 degrees. Humidity was just absurd, and they let us bring in sealed bottles of water. Hint, hint, St. Louis City. But they yeah, they
Love it.
so there wasn't many people in the stadium. The Indy 11 supporters were there. They were going to be there because they took a charter plane to get there and back, so they're not going anywhere. But yeah, it was a 2-hour and 44-minute weather delay because these storms just kept boiling up. It looked like it would clear, and then more lightning and more storms would come in. It was just a vicious cycle. But then the game got underway at 9:44, and I hate to say this because it is Sporting Kansas, but they honestly had the game by the throat from like the start. Like they played their game. They made Indy play their game, and it was unfortunate. But I will say that they put a good effort in the second half. Indy 11 did, and their supporters, honestly, they were just. I think the game was secondary. I think they were just happy to be there. Like they were like happy to be at this point after the, because 4 months earlier, on 4 months to the day, I was in Indy for their match against North Carolina, just 2 days after their mayor announced efforts to bring an MLS club, which is now that's kind of who knows what's happening there. No one knows what's going on, but they're still kind of in limbo. But for one night, they can forget about that because their club was one win away from the CONCACAF Champions Cup.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a momentous day in Open Cup history. I mean, and to me, that's very important, and I'm just glad they got to that point. It's pretty cool. It's weird to me, I think about this all the time. So, first of all, watching your video and seeing some of the game as it was being played, watching like USL uniforms next to MLS uniforms, which like MLS is like the most Adidas, like, we know what to expect from MLS uniforms. And then you see Indy 11 with just like something completely different. There's, for someone that romanticizes, the German system, the European system, seeing just like two totally different uniforms, like a weird red color from Indy, a weird template next to that Adidas template itself was like, well, I feel like I'm watching European soccer. I'm getting that vibe already. And even like somewhat of an empty stadium, yeah, it's been delayed. Whether that was all of it or not, who cares? I love the Open Cup so much. It's just the vibe of it. Seeing in a semifinal, a tier 2 club versus a struggling tier 1 club that wants the win. I mean, the stories write themselves, and it happens every single year. You know what I mean?
You know what would have been better if that game will have been hosted by Indy 11.
I
Oh,
agree.
totally.
Winner. Well done.
Winner, winner, chicken dinner.
It has to
Definitely.
happen from now on, right? I mean,
It should. And that's what they do in England.
Right.
The lower tier club always hosts, and the reason they do that is because these games for these lower tier clubs are everything to them.
Right.
Like when I went to Union Omaha, for their match against SKC, again, they probably set an attendance record for their entire franchise. They were playing at the University of Nebraska Omaha. They had a bigger football field, and it was an amazing experience for them. For a lot of these, like in England, I know lower league clubs, when they host, like if say like an Everton were to come to town, or even a Skybet Championship club, that is a big financial boost for them for the rest of the year. It's exposure, and of course, it feeds into why we love the Cup. And that's because there's always the chance you see David slay Goliath.
exactly.
And there was a lot of optimism before this game that Indy 11 could possibly slay Goliath, because they already took out Atlanta United the round before, so it was doable. It could be done. But the other thing I really liked about it, you mentioned the contrasting jerseys, and just how the vibe is different from MLS and USL, and you get to see that kind of contrast. A lot of the Brickyard Battalion chants I could not include in my video because they let their supporters in the USL have potty mouths. Let's just say that. Like, there was some very creative chants that MLS would never allow. Don Garber would blush so hard, at some of with some of the things that the battalion were saying, but. Again, that's one of those differences that you get to see right in front of your eyes in an MLS stadium. Some of the creative vulgarity.
You know what's funny about that is the Zoo, I think, was the worst. The guys that would come to the SKC2 games versus St. Louis or Swope Park back in the day. They were the dirtiest ones in St. Louis. Honestly, I think the Luligans have always been kind of classy, but not the Zoo.
Yeah,
not the Zoo.
Not the Zoo.
So
now remind me, is that the supporters group that's actually banned from KC? Like, didn't they ban us like a supporters group?
If they did, I missed it, but I wouldn't.
I thought there was like a group of ultras. Maybe, and correct me if I'm wrong in the chat, but like, wasn't there like there was like a group of ultras that like they eventually like said, no, you're done. I may be misremembering that.
Tom, you have a very optimistic view of our chat. It's very small.
That's fair. That is fair. Also, it's 10:30 at night, so like I'm on a weeknight. So if you're still here, kudos.
Massive respect. Yeah. I was gonna mention, you kind of mentioned it, so it's interesting that they did so well against Atlanta because it wasn't like PKs; it was 3-1, right? So. I thought that was incredible. And honestly, you highlighted, and I don't know, I didn't watch the entire game, but you highlighted the chances that Indy had late in the game were pretty good. Yeah. I mean, they were scrappy, but still, I mean, it was the kind of thing that could slay a Goliath, right? So a good game in the end, even though the score line was 2-0, exciting nonetheless too.
I did cut out a lot of just general SKC possession and just general handling of the game. It was after they scored their 2 goals, like it's almost like they took their foot off the gas a little bit. Backfield had a good article about the semifinal today, where they kind of noted that Indy 11, they kind of took off their defensive pressure, that they had against Atlanta United, and they really kind of played a little more passive against SKC, which might have been their downfall. And and as I'm reflecting on that game, it's like, they I mean, like the first goal that was scored, which was just a really nice strike outside the box. He had all the time in the world to set up and shoot it. And it's like, you gotta be more aggressive, especially if you're a lower league club. Well, I mean, look at St. Louis last year. Our MO, we were an expansion club. So what are we doing? We're playing in your face pressing soccer. Maybe our talent level isn't there, but if we play scrappy, and we disrupt things, we can make things happen. That's what Indy 11 should have done. They should have took it to SKC instead of kind of playing passive, and I wouldn't call it afraid, but just very passive.
It's interesting. And honestly, it just makes me think about the LA Galaxy game, coming up. Is like, will we play, conservative? Will we be more conservative because they're going to possess the ball like crazy? Or will we go even harder because they're going to possess the ball? It's kind of the conversation we had there, Santiago. So, and it'll be interesting. It's all relevant, right? I mean, it doesn't matter that it's a Division II team versus SKC. It's going to look similar probably to LA Galaxy versus St. Louis in some ways.
Yeah, I will say Ryan Fraley just dropped in the chat. STLFC got boring kids from Nike, and that was kind of a fumble. I got to give a shout out.
There's a story there, Ryan.
USL clubs have some of the most creative kits. Like, look at Forward Madison. Forward Madison is a brand that is known in Europe and England, and they sell Forward Madison kits on classic football shirts, based in England. Spencer Owen, who's a big YouTuber, he was wearing a Forward Madison shirt in one of his videos. This is a USL League One team that
right.
but their merch game is so strong, and a lot of these clubs have really like this is Union Omaha. This is just it's one of their more basic kits, but it's still a good quality kit.
Yeah. Well,
but,
and
anyway, you're saying
Hummel, right? I mean, Nike
this is a Hummel.
Nike didn't give a crap about St. Louis FC, and that was the problem back then. And there was a league deal with Nike, and so they didn't have a choice, unfortunately, back then. One of the best things USL did was allow them to open up to, clearly the best kits are never Nike or Adidas in a lower league. It's going to be Hummel or someone similar. Yeah.
Yeah, and I know Tulsa uses Puma.
Nice.
And I think a few clubs use Puma, and Puma makes good stuff too.
Yeah,
so.
New Mexico. Yeah, they use Puma.
Yes, New Mexico. Yes, Brad Whiteside. If you're in the chat, hello. He's a big New Mexico United fan.
Well, we should wrap it up, Tom. I know we could go on forever, of course.
Oh, definitely.
But this is a good time to end it, and we'll have you back because it's just too easy to chat. Thanks for joining us. Give your pitch, man. Maybe give us a little 30-second what you want to see from St. Louis for the rest of the season, and then tell us where everyone can find you.
So St. Louis, I'm just looking for building blocks for next year. I want to see this offense continue to click. I want to see the new guys gel with the team. If they can contribute to, a positive, culture shift with this team, I think that'd be great. I want to see how Hackworth does in his continuing audition, for the role. I think he's earned the right to at least finish out the season, and then we can reevaluate. But I'll follow along with St. Louis City SC on my YouTube. I do away day watch-alongs. So when the St. Louis is on the road, I'll do a watch-along on my YouTube at Soccer Zombie STL on YouTube. Again, St. Louis City content. I'll do away day vlogs. I do trying to unearth the world of soccer to people like me who are falling in love with the game in the past couple of years. I'm also on Twitter at Tom Franklin STL. And just one couple more things real quick. Number one, I have joined the pantheon of St. Louis supporters groups and content creators that have their own Olive and York jersey. It is for sale. It is on sale at oliveandyork.com. And someone, and I forget, his name is slipping me right now. I think it was might have been Convincio actually called it like an emo Croatia kit. It's
absolutely.
It's got the checkerboard pattern, but then it breaks up like a classy vertical striping pattern. Just go on oliveandyork.com, check it out for yourself.
It has it's an eye trick in that way because it looks like it's curved because of your eyes, right? And it's not.
Yes,
it's checked straight lines. Just check it out, everybody. It's crazy.
And with a name like Soccer. Thank you, Santi. And with a name like Soccer Zombie, it couldn't be just a basic jersey. It had to be.
I love
absolutely
it.
Yes.
A little out there. And then just one final thing about the Tuesday night. If you go on my Twitter page at Tom Franklin STL, There is I linked to a GoFundMe for a Sporting Kansas fan that unfortunately
Mm.
passed away Tuesday night. She was one of the fans that was leaving early because of the weather delay, and she was trying to cross the street outside of Children's Mercy, and unfortunately, she got hit by a car, and she has passed away. And there is a donation drive for her and her family to help with expenses. So if you go to my Tom Franklin STL Twitter, there's a link to her GoFundMe. Consider donating because it was that was the talk in the weather break was what happened, and it was just very
Oh my
fortunate. She was
gosh.
17 years old and had her whole life ahead of her, and it was just
Mm.
it was just an unfortunate incident.
But it happened before the game even started.
Yeah, they were a family that was leaving early because of the weather delay. They weren't going to be able to hang around, and yeah.
Okay. Well, please do check that out.
Yeah, sorry to end on a downer note, but I just wanted to get that out there.
No, I'm glad you did. Thank you very much, Tom, for
Mhm.
joining us, for your insight, for giving us such great content. Like, it's really enjoyable to watch what you care about, and you present it in a entertaining and interesting way. So thanks for all you do. Keep it going, and everyone, please check it out if you haven't. And if you have, give it all the likes and subscribes you can do.
And a shout out to you guys as well, because if it weren't for you guys and Matt Baker, maybe there isn't a soccer zombie. You guys laid the groundwork, so I appreciate you guys.
Oh, wow.
Appreciate that, man. Thank you so much.
Appreciate it.
And yeah, and you know, no one go park in the Nebraska parking lot. Nebraska furniture parking
At
lot
least
for free.
pay first. At
We
least
don't
pay.
Hey, yeah.
All right. Bye, everybody. I hope you enjoyed the show. Check out Tom. We'll talk to you later. All right. We're out on the record.